Scrappin with Sheri, and welcome to December. I am so excited to continue in our 101 sketchbook, and we took a little break for Thanksgiving. We added a couple of more videos, but we're going to page 16 today, and I'm going to be using some Christmas cheer paper. I have actually been designing tons of Christmas pages using the Creative Memories blog, some original ideas, different things. And I'm trying to use up my Christmas cheer pack. So I'm running to the end of it. But in this particular sketch, it shows several different colors of paper. These two are the same, these two are the same, and this one. So there's 3 different kinds of paper. And they've used some pretty good patterns here. And that's kind of what I'm going with here. So I think I'm going to use the front side of this, not necessarily the back. And then the front of this and the back of this as well. So we need 6 2x12 strips to start this off. Now I've pulled some scrap paper too because I like the way some of these scraps match what we've got going on. So let's go ahead and cut our strips and get those down on the paper. And then we can go from there. Now we know that these are all 2x12s. So I'm going to cut both sheets at the same time. Now on this, you got to make sure your pattern, your directionality works because you don't want your Christmas tree sideways. So when you slide a pattern into your trimmer to cut this, because we're going straight down, make sure you're looking at your pattern exactly straight. Don't turn it horizontally. Don't do anything funky. Just look at it straight, slide it in your trimmer, and cut 2x12. And I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 of those out of both of those patterns. And then I'm going to take the Christmas tree one away and cut this red plaid. And again, it's at a 2x12. And we actually need 6. So I want to lay this out and see what I like before I cut another piece. I felt like the Christmas tree paper might be a little too heavy, so I wasn't sure I'd want extras of it. And I'm almost thinking I would like that plaid in between those two. I'm having a hard time here because I kind of like the plaid, and I'm wondering if I want it in between everything. I couldn't make it go in all of them. I think we will do another plaid there in the center, and then let's just cut one more plaid and play with it. Realistically, the best plan would be to cut 2 of everything, but I just wasn't sure that I wanted 2 or 3 of everything. I guess I'll just continue that pattern. I don't love this by the Christmas trees necessarily, but I think I can be okay with it. And, you know, a lot of it's going to be covered up with photos anyway. So, let me go ahead and tape these down real quick so we can continue on with the rest of the design. Now, on this particular one, I had to tape everything down so it wouldn't move. I could have taped it straight on my scrapbook page, but I don't know exactly where I'll use this layout. So, you know me, I used the cover sheet out of one of my autumn harvest packs where I had finished that pack up. So we've got all 6 of our stripes on there. Let's go back to our sketch and see what else needs to be added. Basically, the main design is these 3 larger squares and then a stripe across the bottom. Now, I decided that I would like to make this a border maker cartridge instead of just a plain stripe. That is very unusual for me. Usually, I opt for the easiest plan. But I have pulled an older border maker cartridge. This one is called the Snowflake Chain. I can't tell you what year it came out, but we've had it for several years. And when I was pulling my greens, there is a dark green that Creative Memories has currently, but this is an older green. I think it might have been called Sequoia. That was in a paper buffet, and I love this color green, particularly with the trees. So I'm going to try to use this scrap with my Post-it notes and see if I can get my border to cut out of that. If I can't, then I'm going to have to go to plan B, C, D, whatever. remember, I put the sticky side of my Post-it note on the paper. And you can try to be really frugal with your Post-it notes, but I've just found that if you go ahead and do about 3 large Post-it notes, it seems to hold it the best. And you have the best shot at getting a good punch. I'm not guaranteeing it, but the best shot. I do want to take a moment to thank all of you who have subscribed to us lately. We've added a lot of new people lately, and I'm thrilled with that. My goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers by January. By January, we will have been up and running for a year. So if you could help me with that by sharing the videos and inviting your friends to subscribe. Now, if you've just been a casual watcher, I really appreciate that as well. But subscribing really helps us, because if we get 1,000 subscribers, we can get to the point that we can do live videos where you can actually interact with me. You can help me out when I say, oh, I don't know what to use. You can tell me that. And I think live videos would be a lot of fun. So if you will help me get to 1,000 subscribers, we can start doing those live videos and have some fun together. Now, right now, I'm just peeling off my Post-it notes. You saw I had to empty all that trash in the garbage. That is a pretty cartridge. It doesn't show up great because of all the pattern behind us, but I think we can do something with that. And I'll work on that in just a second. I do want to go ahead and use my other scraps and cut the large squares for the top. So we've got a 2 3/4 inch square and a 2 1/2 inch square. I'm going to cut the 2 3/4 out of the green. And then I pulled out Firecracker Shimmer to cut the inner one. So I need 2 3/4. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut that on my trimmer. 2 3/4. And I need 3 of those. And you could alternate these if you wanted to. You could make 2 green backs and 1 red back. But there's so much pattern going on in this already. I feel like I need to keep it the same. That scrap wasn't quite big enough to cut one more 2 3/4. So I'm kind of trying to minimize any extra distractions with the patterns we have going on here. I think that green was a good choice. The red on the background, I think, would have been way too much. All right, and let's do our red, and they are 2 1/2. And we'll need 3 of those as well. Let's hope this scrap covers our 2 1/2. Oh, yeah, look at that. So let me tape these down. We'll lay it out and just see where we are. Now, because I am pre-making my Christmas pages, obviously there are not going to be photos on here, but I can show you where I would put my photos once I get them. Just eyeballing that, and that is a little off-centered. You could use your 0 centering ruler if you wanted to make sure you line these up exactly. By the time I cover them with embellishments, I don't think it's going to matter a whole lot. I keep looking at these greens here. It almost feels like one of them is a little bit different. Sometimes the dye lots in the paper are just a touch different and the colors are just a little bit different. Sometimes if you flip one side or the other. I do think they're the same. Must just be the way a shadow is hitting it in my office today. And when I look back at my sketch, I'm going to tape those right up against the top. The cool thing is they'll go on those seams, so that will help you know exactly where to put them. Your points will go seam, seam, and seam, so you shouldn't get them crooked as long as you follow the seams. Yeah, it's easier said than done, but they're working out just nicely. And I was a little worried about having this diagonal plaid on here, but I think it works nicely because these squares follow that diagonal just perfectly. So that is a nice look right there. And one more. Now you can see this red and this red are a touch different. I'm okay with that, and that's part of the reason I chose the green as the back of the squares rather than the inner part. So in rummaging through those scraps a little bit more, I found a piece of the firecracker shimmer that I had cut for a border class I was doing, and it is large enough to fit on here. Now, if you can notice this, I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but this ornament is a little wonky. That just means that I didn't get my border maker cartridge housing slid in quite far enough. So what I'm going to do is just cut that apart where it doesn't match up. And I'm going to make that match up. So sometimes when I get in a hurry, I just don't slide the cartridge housing in all the way. And that gives me just a little glitch like that. Usually it's not too bad to try to fix it. And that's what I'm going to try to do. Now I'm putting this on this red, the firecracker shimmer. I had a little piece of extra firecracker shimmer. But then I'm going to be right back where I talked about up there, because the reds are not exactly the same. This red against the other red, I don't like. I don't think it's going to be very pretty together. So I'm going to have to go back and add another border behind that. I'm going to cut this off just so I don't have a ton of red showing. Boy, you can tell how badly I didn't cut that well. Woo! I can see that that slid right at the end because this end is much larger. And you do have that problem, particularly with some of these shimmer papers I've noticed. They slide a lot worse in the 12-inch trimmer. I'm going to go back and add some white behind that. I think that'll help that out. It'll help it show up a little bit better. And it takes the two reds away from one another since they aren't exact matches. So let's go ahead and tape this down. I picked up my repositionable tape. It's fine. I had a customer ask me yesterday, does the repositionable ever become permanent? I've kind of hesitated about using it. I wouldn't say that it becomes permanent, but after I've used it in a few days, it is very difficult to actually pull anything done with the repositionable tape off your paper. You can pull it off. It leaves spots where you pull it off. And, I mean, it's not an easy thing to do to pull it off. So, permanent, maybe not necessarily, but you're not in danger of your scrapbook pages falling apart if you use the repositionable tape for everything. And I can tell you that from experience. I have one customer who uses repositionable tape for everything she does. And, I mean, even putting her papers onto pages to go in an album. And she doesn't have any issues whatsoever. So, I feel confident in saying that you're safe in using repositionable for everything. Now, this is just a touch long right there. I'm going to use my scissors and just trim that off before I stick it down. And we're almost to my favorite part, the embellishments. Now, this page would not be one that I think I would put a lot of pictures on. I include Christmas cards in my album that people send me, particularly photo cards. But then any handmade cards that people send me, I also put them in because I know the work that's gone into it. So this might be a great page for one of those large photo cards or just a couple of pictures. I could line up 3 pictures across the middle. Let me just grab my photo templates and let's see what we could come up with. So I've pulled my photos and look at that. I could put 3 right across the middle like that. I like that because it really cuts down on the pattern. I could use a strip of white along the top and bottom of those just to set the photos apart from the matting. Otherwise, they're going to fade into it. But that would be a real easy way to add 3 photos on that page pretty quickly. Sounds like a good plan to me. What about you? Now let's do our embellishing. And I pulled some of these Christmas embellishments that came free if you purchase the Creative Memories Christmas Cheer collection early on. They did some kind of bundle thing where if you got it really early, you got a whole collection of embellishments that I think are so cute. And my Santa's kind of fading into that, but we'll pop dot him and help him stand out a little bit better. And I decided to save that Merry Christmas to go right in the middle. I do like that, especially with the white. So let's go ahead and use our foam squares. Again, using these larger size foam squares, you just don't have to use very many, particularly on embellishments, because they won't stick to our backgrounds anyway. What do you think about this? Do you think it's too much red there? The more I look at it, the more I think, oh, that's just too much red going on. Maybe we need to add a white center into those. Let's just scoot this out of the way a second. We'll just make the sketch a little bit more our own. So we had a 2 3/4 and a 2 1/2. Let's go with a 2 1/4. And I'm just cutting this out of one of these leftover sheets. It's the same white I cut here. So I'm going to cut a 2 1/4. I do think this is going to look even prettier with this, but we'll see. Remember, I keep telling you, it's paper. And since it is just paper, and paper that some people actually throw away at that, we're not losing anything to give this a shot. And we may just make a prettier page. Oh, look at that. Now let's see my little Santa sleigh. Yeah, that's it, y'all. Just by going ahead and adding that white at 2 1/4, we're going to really make our embellishments pop. Now, this is something I probably should have looked at before I designed the page to determine which embellishments I was going to use and how they would look against the colors I had chosen. But you're seeing this real in action, and this is how my mind works. Sometimes I just have to keep adding a little bit. Sometimes I have to change things out a little bit until I really like what I've got going. Look at that. Yeah, that makes a huge difference on that. And I want this little Santa with his pack. Now, he has a pack here, but if I stick him on that, then he's kind of sticking out the top of the sleigh. And really all I have to do is foam square the top of his head and then just add a little repositionable tape to his body, because that sleigh is already foam squared and I don't need him popping off the sleigh anymore. Let's just scoot that down a touch, just so we can keep Santa mainly on the white of our diagonal back here. So we're going to go down a little bit further with that, and that gets the bulk of Santa onto the white. Y'all going to see me move this a million times. There we go. I like that. All right. We know our Merry Christmas is going in the center. And I could have just left this one with the red, but I felt like they all needed the same thing. There's just so much busyness on here. I didn't want to start changing things out and making it look even more busy. So I'm going to go with my Merry Christmas there. I'm going to do Santa and the Misses over here. And just one next to the largest foam square on each of them. Maybe one more down here on her little dress. We'll get those on. And yes, I realize that makes me 2 Santas. Do we like that, or do we think we should just stick with the Misses and maybe the bag and some presents? Maybe I won't add Santa on here. Maybe I'll keep him for a coordinating page. All right. I kind of like that. I think we'll stick with that. I do have a couple of little present embellishments, and I'm wondering about adding those right here on the bottom, just to give that Merry Christmas a little extra oomph. Yeah, I like that. Now, something I've been looking at ever since I added that white is there's a little too much white for me. So I'm pulling my green pen. I'm going to use the fine tip on that. And I'm just going to add some little pen details. I like to do dots and dashes. And if you are making this page after you watch the video, you could dot and dash these before you put them on, and that would be a lot easier. You won't have to work around the little embellishments. And then I'm just going to add little clusters of 3 dots here and there, just to give it a little bit more pattern without being too much. Now, to me, that makes such a big difference, and it mimics the dots we've got in this little Christmas tree paper. And these are not perfect. They're not symmetrical. They're not anything. They're just an artistic element, I guess. I don't know what to call them because I'm not really an artistic-y person. But I do like the look of it when it just has a little bit more on there than those plain whites. And turn this. And we'll just get these dotted and dashed. Then we'll go back and add some clusters of little dots in between some of these embellishments. And this page will be finished until I get my pictures. So do any of you do an entire Christmas album each year? If you've watched Noreen Smith's videos on Wednesday nights, in the middle of November, she showed how to make a December kind of a page a day thing that I thought was really nice. I am thinking I will do that, but we'll see. I also do an entire Christmas album every year. I take pictures of my decorations. I take pictures of everywhere that we go during the Christmas season. All of our family gatherings. Like I said, I add in cards, Christmas letters we receive from friends. So my Christmas album is a pretty good size every single year, and I enjoy that. I like looking back at it. But it's also fun if you just do a Christmas album where you just take a 2-page spread of Christmas each year and put that together. So that might be an idea if you're just not sure what to do as far as Christmas. Now, I'm loving this look. What do you think about that? We've got another Christmas page designed. We'll be ready for Christmas pictures very soon. And I'll keep going with my sketchbook. This is page 16 in our book. There we go. So until next time, happy scrapping.